How does Michigan win a national championship? How do they get it done? I think for me, the obvious edges for Michigan in this game have to be the edges. And what I mean by that is Michigan is going to have the edge on the line of scrimmage. That's not a secret. Washington is allowing 4 yards a carry. Michigan is like a 60% of the time run the football team. They will get downhill consistently, whether it's Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, sprinkle a little J.J. McCarthy on the zone read action there. Like, they will make it a point to run the football, and there will be opportunity to run the football. Just ask Texas with their 6 yards a carry, almost 200 yards in the Sugar Bowl. But why this is interesting to me and why we have to talk about this, just because it's an edge on paper and it might be an edge on the field when they kick off, it has to stay an edge throughout the course of the game. Because, to be honest, it was an edge for Texas and Oregon going in both those games. Texas was averaging 5 yards a carry. Oregon, they were averaging 5.6 yards a carry. So in theory, they should have been able to just pound the rock and take the life out of Washington. That was why we picked against Washington in both those games. But when I look at this game, it has to stay an edge, and why it wasn't an edge for either of those teams in the long term, because Washington was able to, quite frankly, deep pass them out of their style of game. You can't run the ball for the duration of an entire drive if you're down by 10, down by 14. You have to score quickly. You have to match scores at that point in time. Or at that point in time, you have to find a way to dig out of a hole. And Texas and Oregon both had to dig out of a hole. So for Michigan, the key to me, the most important players, is going to be Will Johnson and Wallace. 2 corners on the outside. If you can hold your water against Rome Odunze, Jalen McMillan, Jalen Polk, and I'm not saying you have to just totally lock them down, but I'm saying if you can hold your water and win enough of those battles to keep Washington within arm's length, that's where Michigan gets really dangerous. Because if you keep Washington at arm's length and make it a wrestling match as opposed to a boxing match, keep them kind of in that hole that you got them in, and keep a lot of time on the ground, and you're going back and forth as opposed to trading just haymakers. If it's that kind of game, Michigan gets to wear on you. And we've all said this across the college football world. We said this dating back to last season with Michigan. They are a team that just, you might be able to handle them in that first quarter. The weight might not be too heavy, but when you have that weight on your back for the duration of 4 quarters, if they get to keep pressing on you, you will break. And Michigan, that's what they want to do. That's what they've done to a lot of their opponents. That's what they did to win the Big Ten. That's who they are. So if they get to lean on Washington, by nature of this game staying in close proximity and being able to manage the deep pass against Washington, that is how they will win the football game. So give your offense a chance to control the game. The edge for Michigan, which is running the football, which is game control, has to stay the edge for them to win this football game. The style of play here is going to be extremely important. Going into the game, going into the fourth quarter rather, with a 3 points to a touchdown lead is exactly where you want to be if you're Michigan. Not just because you have the lead, because of what we just said. You get to keep leaning on the Huskies. So, other part of this for Michigan, have to play clean. Have to play clean if you want to win the national championship. Because Texas, they matched up really well with Washington. I think on paper, Texas was favored for the right reasons. We talk about the logos maybe being a factor in why Vegas is assessing Washington a certain way, and that might still be true. But you look at how Texas matched up, NFL quarterback, couple NFL wide receivers, great line of scrimmage on offense, great line of scrimmage on defense. The issue was Texas gave extra pitches to Washington. When you got Aaron Judge at the plate, man, you don't want to give him another pitch. You don't want to give him another opportunity to knock it out of the park. And that was what Texas did. They lost the turnover battle. They lost the penalty battle, if that's even a thing. They had too many penalties. They had 10 for like 60-plus yards. That's more pitches to Washington. That's more opportunities for them to stretch their lead and to allow that offense and Michael Penix Jr. to be on the field and be dynamic and be potent. If you can keep from that being the case, you can play clean, have 0 turnovers, and keep, quite frankly, Michael Penix Jr. on the sideline watching the game while you drive down the field and take 8 minutes off the clock, that's how Michigan wins this football game. Major factor is that fourth quarter. I keep going back to it. It's not novel to say that the fourth quarter is a major factor, but I mean, where they're at going into the fourth quarter, it's going to be a big deal. So that's the Michigan side of things. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.